Although gymnastics isn't the most televised sport when compared to others like football and basketball, it has one of the most dedicated fan bases in the world. Unfortunately for lovers of everything acrobatic though, it can be quite difficult to stay up to date with the latest. And that's why we're here. So what are the gymnastics headlines you should know about? And what do they mean for the future? For all this and more, stay tuned. First up on our list is the incredible defeat of the Panthers by Detroit Lakes. And as far as openers go, this is one that's going to be remembered for quite some time. You see, the girls of the Park Rapids-Menahga-Nevis gymnastics team, otherwise known as the Panthers, found themselves facing off against the Detroit Lakes, a menacing team who had the advantage of performing at home. That being said, a betting man would have definitely placed all the chips on the Panthers, who had incredible talents like Shailyn Hayes and Emma Berghuis on their side. Home field advantage is funny though, and it sounds like it has a lot to do with the Detroit Lakes coming out in full force to finally succeed against one of their biggest foes. There's no doubt that the Lakes had far more support than the Panthers after all, which seemingly propelled them to new heights of performance during the blistering opener at home. To the surprise of everyone there that day, the Lakes took an early lead with fantastic performances from the likes of Shailyn Hayes on floor and Emma Berghuis on vault. In fact, Hayes actually scored an 8.70 in her event, leading to a team score of 31.90 in floor. Berghuis' score of 8.50 resulted in a team score of exactly 32.80. With unbeatable performances like these, the Panthers found themselves between a rock and a hard place. Unable to compete to the best of their ability, they ended up losing with an overall score of 135.05 to 120.70. Not too bad. Next up, we have the latest news from the lives of the Nassar survivors, a case that feels like it's been going on for decades now. Although the monster who is Larry Nassar was finally convicted of his crimes and shut away in prison back in 2018, the world of gymnastics has been forever changed because of the things he ended up doing to his victims throughout his lucrative career. Simone Biles couldn't even continue to perform at the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games because of the flashbacks she was experiencing at the big event. And according to her testimony in front of Congress, this had everything to do with what she had been through at the hands of the sexual predator. Locking him up was just a small win for the girls though, who next turned their attention to USA Gymnastics and the FBI, who had somewhat allowed for the predator to continue his abuse with immunity. But the latest news to come from this case is that the survivors have now been awarded a grand total of $380 million on behalf of both USA Gymnastics and the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. According to reports, the organizations reached this agreement with the various survivors of the team doctor, but in the end, the survivors requested a lot more than financial gain. They also called for the reformation of the organization so that a situation like this can be avoided in the future. Suffice to say, this was a pretty big win for the survivors, and we truly hope things change for the better.
At age 15, when I suffered from chronic back pain, Larry sexually assaulted me repeatedly under the guise of medical treatment for nearly a year.
Speaking of the survivors, Suni Lee just gave gymnastics an impressive nail tip. Forever the stylish gymnast, Suni Lee was seen competing at the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games wearing square acrylic nails, something that her followers had a lot of questions about, but ended up forgetting to ask when Lee finally walked home with the individual all-around women's gymnastics gold at the end of the tournament. So when NBC finally got their chance to talk to the athlete, they dove right into the questions that were somehow forgotten, like why choose to decorate yourself with acrylic nails when it would most likely hinder you when competing. But according to Suni, her signature nail look is actually a part of her usual makeup and beauty ritual. And if she doesn't end up doing this from time to time, she doesn't feel nearly as confident as she needs to be the best. It's similar to how some athletes refuse to wash their lucky underwear or need to knock 3 times after exiting the changing room. It's a ritual that Suni needs to indulge in if she wants to feel her best. But that's not all though. According to the 18-year-old gymnast, the square tip acrylic nails also help her when she's performing on the uneven bars. You see, when she misses the bars, it hurts more than anything, which makes her want to catch the bars and maintain her look. In other words, it's not all about looking glamorous for the cameras at all times. This look actually contributed to Suni achieving gold.
This medal definitely means a lot to me because there was a point in time where I wanted to quit and I just didn't think I would ever get here, including injuries and stuff.
Paige also seems to be doing well for herself with her latest win. We are, of course, referring to her individual win at the Trampoline, Tumbling, and DMT Championships in Baku a couple weeks ago. The English gymnast, who is already 30 years in age, ended up walking away with the title by securing herself a fantastic score of 56.235, clinching the win from China's own Chao Yunzu, as well as Lana Lebedeva of Russia. Both competitors ended up scoring in the high 55s, with Yunzu coming second and Lebedeva coming third. And although Paige has on previous occasions competed at the competition, even securing herself a team gold back in 2013, she has never won an individual title in the event. She also gave a pretty incredible performance alongside Louise Brownsey, who she teamed up with in the women's synchro on behalf of Great Britain. In the end, the duo walked away with a bronze medal in the all-around final, showing that she's a lot more than a pretty face. This doesn't come as a huge surprise to fans, though, who still remember the days when Paige walked off with 2 Olympic medals. But that was quite some time ago, with many experts on the scene previously indicating that she should probably retire sometime soon. It's a good thing Paige didn't listen to the public pressure, though, as otherwise there's no way she would be where she is at the moment. In fact, many are now calling her the most successful gymnast of her age. Back to Suni Lee and her interview with Pop Sugar that's been making waves. As if we couldn't get enough of Suni Lee and her fantastic aesthetics, the Olympian has finally spoken up about the racist attack that her and her friends experienced a few months ago after she had returned from Tokyo. For those of you who don't know, the 18-year-old was actually pepper sprayed while walking with a group of her Asian friends in Los Angeles. After arriving in LA with the intention of filming Dancing with the Stars, she went out with her friends for a night on the town. And while they were waiting for an Uber back home, a car raced past them with the people inside shouting a number of racist slurs in their direction. Unfortunately, the United States has been rife with racism since the start of the pandemic, with former President Donald Trump doing nothing but imparting blame for the pandemic on the Asian Americans he was supposed to be protecting. This was nothing but a ploy to secure votes, though, and while he ended up losing in the end to Joe Biden, the effects of his speech have been far-reaching. After being told to go back where they came from, a man in the passing vehicle also released some pepper spray, which luckily just hit her arm and not her face. Just like that, the attack was over, and according to Lee, there was nothing she could do since the car had just sped off. She was left feeling both angry and hurt. Last but not least, support for Simone Biles is at an all-time high right now. The exit of Biles from the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games was a real shame that was received by different viewers in a number of different ways. On the one hand, people understood where she was coming from, especially after the whole Larry Nassar ordeal. This was a lot of pressure for Biles to be under. She was also being told at every turn that she was the best gymnast in the competition and was thus not expected to fail. A small number of supporters ended up making fun of her because of this exit, though, with many memes referring to her as being mentally weak, spreading across the internet and making it seem like that was the majority, though. But as the days go on, more and more people are understanding her decision, and we feel like gymnastics is going to be changed forever because of what she sacrificed. Good on you, Simone. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the world of gymnastics. What do you think of the Panthers' opening loss, though? And what are your thoughts on the Nassar survivors being paid out? Be sure to let us know in the comment section down below.